All right, we're gonna be starting with only step one. So you need to do this 24 hours in advance before you even start making your focaccia. So it's really simple. What you need to do is add your half a cup of flour, and I'm doing a pretty large bowl, your 1 teaspoon of yeast, and we don't even have to dissolve it ahead of time, and half a cup of that warm water. That's it. Okay, take that mixture, use a wooden spoon, and it's going to be this really kind of a thick little paste. Just going to make sure all the flour does get dissolved into the bowl. Work any lumps out that I can. So this is called a sponge, and how is it different from a starter? So a starter, you would pull some of the ingredient away, and then you would feed it and keep it alive. Starter is we're just kind of taking all the yeast and some of the water and the gluten flour and kind of giving it a little bit of a head start. So I'm going to take a rubber scraper, and I'm just going to, I've got it all up the sides of the bowl. Just going to mix it. And that's it. You'll leave that mixture overnight. I am going to cover it because it will dry out, but I'm going to just kind of loosely cover it. So just lay it so nothing falls in it. That's going to sit 24 hours, okay? So our mixture sat 24 hours, and you can see it's definitely thickened up. You can start to see there is some air bubbles in there. Definitely has a different odor to it. You can tell it's almost kind of a little bit of sour. So now we're going to move on to doing the focaccia. And what we need now is the remainder of our flour, which I have out. To this, we're going to go ahead and stir in now 1 cup of the warm water. So you want to check the temperature. So let's do 1 more cup of water. I'm just going to mix this in. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. Make sure you're nice and leveled. And 1 tablespoon of oil. I'm just going to stir this until I can feel the salt. It's kind of dissolved. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and add cup of flour. I'm going to add about 2 cups because we have about 4 cups of flour left. So I'm going to add about half of it. And I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to start with my wooden spoon. I might move over to my bench scraper. And what we want this to do is just to form, again, start to form a dough ball. Okay, add another cup. So we'll stick with 3. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my bench scraper. Now again, if you have a KitchenAid mixer at home that has a dough hook and you want to do it with the mixer, you can. Starts making bread making a little bit easier. And then we're going to go ahead and start kneading. Now again, I've only added just enough flour to get it to come together. And then go in here and make sure your bowl is got completely scraped out. Okay. So remember, with kneading, palm of your hand, fold it in half, and spin. So it could take 8 to 10 minutes. And again, every time you really want that dough to be stiff. If it's not, you still have another, I'm going to keep my other cup of flour right here to the side. So again, completely depends on the moisture in the room, the climate outside, whether you need that complete cup of flour. Okay, so you can see I've got it into a dough ball. I'm just going to continue to knead, add flour, lightly sprinkle every time I feel that it's sticky. If it's sticking to my hand, I'm going to add flour. If it's sticking to the table, I'm going to add flour. All right, I'm going to continue to knead. 10 minutes. Go ahead and pause the video. We'll come right back. So I've been kneading this for a little over 5 minutes now. And what I'm starting to see is that when I'm bringing this half over and pressing it in, it's not really going. It's leaving, I can almost unfold it. It's leaving those crease marks. That's how you kind of know that you've kneaded the dough enough. Also, when you have your dough ball and you push your finger in it, it springs back, that poke, really fast. So again, that's how you know you have developed those glutens. So again, if you're stopping, you know, it's not exactly 8 to 10 minutes. It's that texture of the dough. All right, I have another bowl here. I'm going to go ahead and lightly oil it just to make sure that the dough doesn't stick to the sides. And I'm going to put that in there. And I'm just going to use a clean dish towel this time. I'm going to cover it, and we're going to set a timer for 1 hour. Now find a spot in the house where it's warm. So maybe in a kitchen window, somewhere in the living room, maybe where the sun is lightly shining, but you want a warm spot. In my house, it happens to be a vent on the dining room table that blows the heater right down. So I'm in the room. I'm going to find somewhere nice and warm. Come back in 1 hour and I'll show you how to finish it. So the dough has risen. I'm going to show you. Okay, for 20 minutes. I actually let it go a little bit longer. I now also have got this is a 9 by 12 cake pan. Okay, whether it's metal or glass, it's fine. I have also preheat my oven. I went to 475. The directions do say, I'm sorry, I went to 450. The directions say 475. I'm going to go a little bit lighter. All right. You can freeform it. You can put it in another shape. You can do a loaf pan. But because I would like to do sandwich bread, I'm going to be able to get like 6 to 8 really nice pieces of bread out of this. So I'm going to go ahead and grease the sides of the pan. So if you have spray oil, that's fine as well. But you need to make sure you go up and around all those edges because we want to make sure that the dough can move. Now, very gently, because we don't really want to work the dough any more than we have to, I'm going to just put it into the pan. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and start to spread it from the center all the way out to the edges. And I'm kind of pulling and stretching. Dough's really soft, so I don't want to overwork it too much. But you want it up those edges just a little bit and to stretch it into those corners. So pull it and let it relax. Pull it. It's really soft. Trying to just get it as close to that rectangle shape as possible. So that's it. That was pretty simple. So again, I didn't roll it in a ball or anything. I just let it really sit there and relax. Now, if you continue to do this and it's shrinking back again, cover it, let it sit for like 10 more minutes, and then come back to it. All right, so I'm gonna take a little bit more oil to the top, and I'm gonna gently rub it all over the top. Okay, and then you're gonna kind of get these little dimple marks on the top of the bread. So it's 2 fingers, and you're just gonna lightly kind of push these little indents in, and you don't have to do a lot. I'm gonna do 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, about 8 times, okay? And that just kind of gives the top a little rippling effect. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sprinkle the top with a little bit of kosher salt, not a lot, and some Italian seasoning that I have. So I'm almost out. I'm gonna lightly do. Now, if you wanted to do the other, if you have any dried dill, I've made this with dried dill before, little salt, little pepper, and then made a tuna fish sandwich, and it kind of complemented. So that's a good one. Italian seasoning, I have it. We would have been making the grilled ratatouille, so you could do that. It's just grilling up a bunch of vegetables, slicing it, and then putting it on the top. So this is gonna go in that 450 oven. We're definitely looking with brown sides, brown bottom. We're gonna say bake it for 15 to 20. I'm gonna check it in about 12 again. Remember, rotate through the baking process. All right, focaccia's going in. So I just pulled the focaccia out of the oven, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna let it cool, but I want to show you that I loosened it, but you wanna be able to check that bottom is also nice and brown. So we will let this cool, and then I can show you a little later how we're gonna cut it. But basically what I like to do, you can leave the edges on if you want, but I trim off all the edges and then cut it into quarters, and you slice it horizontally. So all of this is the top of your bread, and the bottom of the bread becomes the bottom. So you slice it, again, horizontally. Hope you guys enjoy. So the focaccia has completely come to room temperature, and I'm gonna show you how to go ahead and slice it for your sandwiches. So I'm gonna use it on a cutting board. With a serrated knife, it's gonna be much easier. So I'm gonna come over here, and again, you don't have to trim these edges off. We do it when we cater and we open the restaurant just because it looks nice. Nobody gets the crust part. I keep this, eat it myself, enjoy it, dipping it in perhaps a little sauce, kind of like a breadstick. So maybe it's a little treat. So cut off all those ends, and I'm just sticking them off to the side. Cut a little bit off here. Okay. Oh, it's a nice little crumb, and it's not super thick. Okay, so you're like, Chef, how is that going to become a sandwich? Trust me, it's great. Okay, so cut off those ends. And so you just have a little bit of a smaller rectangle. You can, I'm going to do them in 6s. I think that's going to be better. So, or 6 pieces, cut them in thirds. So you can cut it down the middle first. If you want to do quarters, go ahead, right? They would just be nice big rectangles. I'm going to do smaller little sandwiches because then I can cut them into little triangles. So there's 3. Let's cut this one again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then you're just gonna take, I'll show you on one. Okay, so this is the top, this is the bottom. So really carefully, using the serrated knife, and cut it like a saw, back and forth, all the way down. And there you go. So now you have a beautiful piece of bread to do anything. Ham and cheese, chicken salad, BLT, tuna fish, whatever you guys want to make. Hope you enjoy.